Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys Season 2 with your host, Captain Gage.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gage. This is episode number 56, coming to you live from the studio, Season 2, brought to you in part by Nautical School of Maritime Licensing. Visit nauticalschool.com to get your captain license now. What's up, everybody? I can't believe I'm back in the studio. I haven't had a chance to get on the boat with all this wind. This weather is unbelievable. You really got to get windows to get out. And, with the schedule and everything, it makes it a little difficult. So I get it. Guys are wrapping up their boats. They're hitting the hard land. They're coming out. They're winterizing. I saw Dave Brown. He just pulled his boat out. He just posted a picture of that beautiful world cat getting winterized and ready for next year. So, like I said, Dave on Facebook, another great year in the books. Well done. So, obviously, we just had a full moon, the Beaver moon in November. And I don't know if you know why it's called the Beaver moon, but because the beavers now get ready for their winter and start their fall activities. So it's a good way to bring in the fall. And this Beaver moon, not only being a full moon, and I don't know if you guys know, when it's a full moon, that is when the earth, the sun, and the moon are all nearly in alignment, okay? They're nearly aligned. So that's what creates a full moon for us. However, this happens to be a supermoon. Now, the supermoon is when the moon is closest to Earth in its orbit. And this moon happens to be 16,777 miles away from Earth. And that's the closest it's been all year. So that's your little moon fact. And speaking of local guys, even today, we were talking about how murky the water is. And when you got high winds mixed with a supermoon or even a full moon, that tidal coefficient is ripping. That body of water on the bottom, on the waterbed, is moving. In fact, today's tidal coefficient was a 98. The highest it can be is 120. So a 98 is very high. I mean, that means the water's moving. You'd probably have to have an 8-ounce weight down there today if you were togging. Anyway, it was blowing. So I had a charter today. We had to reschedule. And hopefully we get out there. We get a window of opportunity. But again, fishing in our area is absolutely lights out, especially for this time of the year. Such a mix of everything. You got black sea bass. I was talking to Pete. Pete used to be Pistol Pete. I also, on Instagram, he's Salty Pete as well. I was sitting in the harbor, and a lot of times guys will see me on the towboat, and they'll come over to, catch up, and we'll talk either on their way out or on their way back. And Pete happened to be coming back from Connecticut. He got on some nice tog and some really nice black sea bass. So I know the black sea bass bite has been real good. In our area, the guys are still getting bonito. And the albie bite was slow. I don't know. Everybody was waiting for it to turn on and get crazy. We saw them. They made their appearances, but it wasn't as hot as the bonito bite. The bonito bite has been much better in our area. As far as the tog, it's been lights out. It really has. I saw a video today of somebody with an 18-pound tog. It was not in our area. I don't know anybody that's caught even any double-digit tog in my area amongst the captains that I talk to. Everything's been 7-8 pounds, real decent-sized keepers, And the striped bass bite, we went out. Me and Corey had a very small window to get out on Sunday morning. Now, the weekend, the fishing was good. It really was. So, and this is very interesting for our area. So, in the harbor, you got squid fishing. You got tons of bait, but the bait is all spearing in the harbor. You go west of us, a harbor over, and it's all peanut bunker. And there's a ton of fish there on them. Now, in our bays, it's a different story. There's peanut bunker in the bays, and there's a ton of fish in the bays, too. So the birds are working. You get out there, you see the birds. Now, Sunday morning, me and Corey started off in one of the back bays. We went in, it was high tide. We just went into prospect, look around, seeing if any of the bait had snuck in there with the wind direction and whatnot. And we'll get into that in a second. We didn't see much happening. However, on my way there, I was getting a phone call from somebody west of me, and I was able to see with my binoculars the birds that they were describing to me. It was absolutely insane. Hundreds of birds working in the harbor west of me, in the bay west of me. So instead of sneaking around and going into it, because we had just been in that same mix of birds and fish with a charter recently, we wanted to work our area and see what was happening. So we shot over to a few other back bay areas, and sure enough, the birds were working. The boats were running and gunning, but nobody was hooking up. So I see that a lot. We see a lot of times where you see a bunch of birds hitting the water working, but if you don't see the tail splashes and you pull up over them and you don't see anything on your sonar or your side scan, a lot of times I'm finding out that when I do that and I pull up, I see the cormorants are on bait, and the cormorants are working together, and they're pushing the bait up for the birds, and the birds are working, and it's birds feeding birds the bait, and there's really not much tail splashing, because usually we could identify the fish prior to getting over there. You know, you'll see a tail come out of the water. You'll see a fish air out. On the South Shore, they're seeing, big 40-inch bass just airing out on, big pods of bait that they have, whether it be the anchovies or bunker. But we're not seeing major activity under all the birds that we're seeing. And then one bay over, you could walk across the peanut bunker. The bass are there, the blues are there, and the fishing is lights out. So it varies. It does. You got to bounce around. And I'll tell you this, even recently talking to Greg, because I told you he was swearing with us with the 5-inch swim shads, and Tommy and Greg, we laughed about this, and it's so funny. We were coming back into the harbor, and here we go. We see a regulator with a bunch of 14, 15-year-old looking kids on it, and it's how Greg described them as trust fund kids taking daddy's regulator out. And they were the ones blowing through the birds, blowing through the fish and the birds, and it was pissing Tommy off. And so we were laughing about that. So, Greg, when I told Tommy that you called them trust fund kids on daddy's regulator, he's like, that's exactly what it was. He goes, I even want to say that's exactly who it was. Boat-wise. So it was pretty funny to hear. Guys, this happens a lot. You got new fishermen out there. They get excited. They see the birds working. They want to get in the mix, and they don't think to maybe get ahead of the birds. Look at the direction the whole thing is moving, and it shifts. It goes in all different directions. And then all of a sudden you pull into it, and it disappears, and the birds leave. So there's no rhyme or reason, but there's a tactic to it. And there's also, you don't have to be a Guggen about it. So don't just drive into it and scare them all away. Me and Corey will creep in, and we'll shut the engine off. And try to be quiet. I've had Captain Dave say to me, hey, he's on it. He sees them coming over, and the first thing he'll send me a text message is shut your engine off and just cast. I love you, Dave, and I love when that happens. So, in fact, that one day we cast it out into that, the client hooked up, and they broke him off at the side of the boat, which, that happens too. If you don't know how to handle it, rod and reel it, things go wrong. So, we talked about the wind direction, and you got to realize that sometimes that wind direction is pushing the bait all up into one area. And Saturday, Greg figured out where they were going to be because of the wind direction, pushing them in one of our local bays, found them tucked into a corner, and nailed them on. He was trying spoons to spoons. It was the tide was ripping, so those were just scoping out and gone. See you later, bye. He got a couple on NLBNs, which he's been killing it on the NLBNs, which you should stop by High Hook, Bait and Tackle in Huntington and pick them up. He's got a shelf full of them. And then even today in my conversation with Greg, he said that after the bite slowed a little bit on the NLBNs, he decided that the fish were moving, and he was going to go move with them and troll and see if he could get them. And he was crushing it on the Mojos. And me and Corey love to use the mini mojos because you have all different weights, 6, 7, 8 ounce weights, 4 ounce. You could get it down straight into the fish and yo-yo it and still use your jigging rod, and you don't have to put a trolling setup out, which we kind of hate doing. We do it on charters because we have to. But we would much rather get over the fish, see them on the sonar, and start jigging them up, traditional jigging methods. And those mini mojos are a game changer. They are absolutely lights out, and I recommend you head into High Hook. The minute you go into High Hook, they're up on the top shelf there with the spoons. You'll see them, and I'm sure I got a video here I could pop up and show you. But you can still troll for them using your regular size mojos if you want to this time of the year. So guys are catching big fish in the harbor, fish to 40 inches in our harbor, and there's a ton of spearing in the harbor. And I showed it to you on the video, the underwater video last week. So somebody reached out to me and said, hey, where was that video shot? And I said it was shot in Huntington Harbor. And so the bass are in. And the squid fishing is going on. Guys are catching squid. And it's not filling up 5-gallon buckets yet. Trips are going out and getting 15 to 25 squid all mixed up, scattered. It's not lights out. Everybody's filling up a 5-gallon bucket just yet. But it's early. And I think when this wind calms down and this tide starts to slow down as this moon phase moves further and further away from Earth, I think the tidal coefficient will slow down. The water clarity will be a lot better because right now it's very murky. And that's because that tidal coefficient is ripping down there. And again, you see it in the videos. It's just a muddy bottom. I wait for high tide to put that camera down there specifically because at that slack current, when you get that slack tide, people like to say, in captain school, they told me there was no such thing as a slack tide, that the current goes slack. And I thought that was interesting. And speaking of captain school, I watched the entire episode, and I'll get back to the fishing in the harbor and the squid, but I watched the entire episode of me and Captain Mike from nautical school, and I loved last week's intro that I did off the cuff, raw and unedited for nautical school. I thought it was epic, and it really was one of his Facebook ads. So I'm going to recommend everybody head over to nauticalschool.com and check them out. I can't wait to sit with Mike again at this year's boat show. We're going to have a whole new setup there. It's going to look really cool, so we're excited to be there. We got all our invitations ready to invite people to come to the booth. We're very excited about this year's boat show. But Mike was one of my favorite episodes from last year's New York boat show at the Jacob Javits Center. And I watched all 33 minutes of it today because I wanted to refresh myself with what we had talked about with the new captain's license, the new laws that are in effect and all this great stuff, just so I can help some people out that are reaching out to me. Once I posted that in last week's podcast, people reached out and said, hey, I want to do it. Should I do it online or should I go to class? And me and Mike talked about it in that episode. I am going to pin that episode on our YouTube channel. All right, so it will be pinned right now. There's a video that's pinned up there that has 740,000 views of a cast net instructional video. Not too many people throwing cast nets in our area right now. So I'm going to take that video. I will unpin it, and I will pin the video of me and Captain Mike from Nautical School. Check it out. It's super informative. It was one of my favorite episodes that we did at the boat show last year. And I think you should check it out if you're looking into getting a captain's license or even if you're renewing it, because the whole process and the portal that he created at Nautical School is second to none. So I'm going to go ahead and recommend everybody head over to nauticalschool.com. The classes start in November, and work their way all the way through the winter time. So there's no better time than right now to go get your renewal, get your upgrade, and go get a captain's license. So back to the squid fishing and the bait, the spearing in the harbor, tons of peanut bunker at the harbor next to us, which is just incredible how it varied in different bodies of water. And it also, I want to say that it varied where the birds are working and what's going on. But that underwater footage And the reports that I'm getting from people fishing in a harbor are showing me that there are 40-inch fish in the harbor and a lot of fish up to slot size. So Greg said he was getting 36-inch bass out in the bay. Okay? That was on the NLBNs and trolling mojos. He was getting 36-inch bass in the bay in our area. So what's going to happen with the squid are the bass coming into the harbor because they're here. You see them in the video. I know that they're catching them. Are they going to chase the squid out? So is the squid fishing in the harbor going to be, is it going to ramp up? Do the bass chase them out? These are all the questions that will now play out over time in the next couple of weeks. So stay informed. Listen up to Bay Rats and Buoys, and we'll try to keep you in the mix of what's going on and what's happening and how you can get out there and catch them. Talking to Andrew, the champ. The champ is here. You guys hear me mention him all the time. And he went out and he said the squid fishing sucked. And I said, yeah, I can't wait to do it and squirt Corey in the face with some ink. But I really don't want to crap my boat up. So I want to crap somebody else's boat up. And, there's a couple of ways to do it. You see some guys in videos and pictures squid fishing and they got spearing on or weight on a high-low rig. And then a lot of guys swear by the Squid Jigs. So if you want to head over to High Hook in Huntington, High Hook Bait and Tackle has Squid Jigs. And I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you put a smaller jig up top on the high, and on the low, put a bigger squid jig down there and make a high-low squid jig to get into the harbor and get out there and catch some squid if that's what you want to do. And as soon as that bite turns on and it's red hot and it's crazy and everybody's filling up 5-gallon buckets and you see them with the lights over at the Halesite Fire Department and they're all over the docks. I said to Corey today, we're going to put down the neon lights that we have and the GoPro and see what we pick up in the lights on the GoPro at nighttime. And again, I'll do it at high tide. Let's see what comes into the light, what's in the harbor, and see if we can get any of it on film for you. So that will hopefully be a B-roll video for next week's episode. Meanwhile, this is episode 56. I cannot believe it. Season 2. It does feel good not to be on the boat on a day like today when it's blowing 20. This wind is relentless. And it's over the next few days. It's just, it's really, there's no sign of it letting up. And I hang tough. Captain Mike called me today. He was like, yo, I'm on your boat right now. I'm flutter spooning out here. I'm flutter spooning blackfish. And there were a few tows and a few things that had to happen in our area. So, again, these high winds, if your boat's still out there on a mooring, I'm going to say this. I don't want to be a broken record. Get out there, check on your boat. If you're not using it, just get it out of the water before something happens to it, because it already happened to somebody in our area that me and Corey both know. And, people have nice boats. They keep on moorings. They do. And things happen to them, especially this time of the year with these winds. Forget about it. So I'm going to say if you got a boat on the mooring still, get it out, winterize it, take care of it. If you're not going fishing, there's no reason to keep it in. You're not going to get too many more days in. Right now, the only guys that I think should be in the water are guys that go black fishing over the next 2 weeks. And then then after that, it's out. Because the guys in Oyster Bay, you got to be out of marinas in the middle of November. Middle of November in my area, November 15th, the gas dock shuts down. So that's usually when I'm wrapping it up and saying, okay, I want to get the boat out before the temperature is consistently 35 at night and 40 during the day. I don't like to be working on the boat and winterizing it and cleaning it and wrapping it up and doing all that stuff while it's 40 degrees. Give me a good 53, give me 55 degrees and I'll be thrilled. So I do see a few more warm days in the forecast. Anyway. Crazy full moon. Up to 10 feet with this super moon. You can get the tidal differential can be, you could have a 10-foot tide swing because of this Beaver moon. So pretty cool. It's amazing how that moon really affects our tides and the fishing. But this wind, too, this wind out of certain directions, it's a great bite for blackfish. Makes it tougher to get to the great bite. And there you have it. I just gave you the breakdown of the fishing in our area. So we got a lot happening moving into this wintertime. So we're all going to be at the fishing shows. We're all going to see each other. If you see Bay Rats and Buoys at the fishing show, come on over and say what's up. I'm going to make it that I can sit down with a couple of the Bay Rats and Buoys fans and the loyal listeners and get you guys on, and let's have a quick conversation about the fishing in your area, what kind of fishing you do, what you like to use. You do it on boat, you do it from shore, what are you going for? What are you targeting? Because not everybody fishes the same type of fish. Some guys only striped bass fish. Some guys love go blue fishing. Some guys are huge on fluke fishing. Some guys wait for this time of the year. I know there's a boat in my harbor that doesn't go out until October to go. The minute blackfish season opens, they're going. Otherwise they're a predominant fluke fishing boat during the fluke season, and then they wait for the blackfish and the black sea bass. Where me and Corey, we love targeting everything, but we are going to say we are a 90% striped bass, that we're targeting striped bass 90% of the time. And we heard some good news. Again, and it's funny, Mike in the podcast with the boat show at Nautical School, he said, the state is right over there. I don't want to say it too loud, but, they're not so great at getting back to people. And it's just very true. But I haven't heard back from the DEC. However, I did hear that nothing was going to change in our area for striped bass for 2026, that the regulations were going to stay the same. Whether the opening day and the closing day are going to remain the same, I will get you that information as we move closer to the opening of the season in April. Hopefully that remains the same. If not, I heard it was going to be pushed off 2 weeks from April 15th to potentially May 1st. And I'll let you know as we get more details following up with the powers that be there. So I think we'll be able to get them on the podcast finally this winter and let you hear it from the horse's mouth, from the mouth of babes, all the different phrases. So we do have the fishing club is going to start up in January. You'll probably be able to register for that and sign up for it starting at the boat show, which we're very excited to be at for the 5 days. Then January 31st, you have the Copeg Fishing. The fire department has a fishing show. I put the picture up, the link up here. It's on January 31st. And then you have the 2-day Ward Melville show. Now, me and Corey are going. We're traveling. We're going to a lot of. We're gonna hit ICAST. We're gonna hit all the shows this year. Whether we get a booth at some of them is still up in the air. Contracts have to be signed and taken care of if we are going to do it. If not, we will be there in person, walking around, still shooting videos and making some great content for Bay Rats and Buoys. So we'll try to keep you in the mix at all the different shows that we can, whether they be in Jersey, in Connecticut, in Florida, out of state. We will be traveling to the shows and trying to bring you some of the latest and greatest gear to help you guys catch more fish. Now, as far as the boating season is concerned, a lot of the non-fishing people are taking their boats out and winterizing, shrink wrapping, fogging the engines, doing everything that we do to get the boat ready for the springtime, because we get some, pretty harsh winters here. And there's no better time than right now, because Northport Harbor is definitely emptying out. Huntington Harbor is a little different. Now, it's crazy, but in different harbors, there are different dates for deadlines of when the floating docks have to be out. And you can see the no-wake zone markers. The harbor master was out there pulling them. I showed you a video here of the conga line. I'll show you another video here of the conga line of all the no wake signs and the skiing and the back bays and all the different signs that go up. They were coming in a conga line last week. So all that's getting taken out of the water. There's a lot to do now to winterize the waterways and, get ready for the harsh winters that we get here, the cold winter. Last year, Northport, between Centerport and Northport, it finally froze over. It hadn't done that in years. I used to be able to walk across it. We've skated on all the different areas here in Northport as kids. We had that ice storm of 78, and I'm not wishing for any of that. However, I do have plans to hit the mountains this year. I'm back on the ice a lot now. The kids are skating. I'm playing hockey. I'm back. I'm in the gym. You guys want to come meet me at the gym in the morning? I'm at the gym every day now, so you can reach out to me, DM me. I go to Planet Fatness, and don't worry, I'm not setting off any lurk alarms and or a lunk alarm. It's a lurk or a lunk, one of those alarms that go off. It's funny. On Election Day on the 4th, my son was off for school. So I said to him, hey, you want to go to the gym? It'd be good if you get on the treadmill because he's training for hockey. I said, it'd be good, good to come. You don't have to lift weights. He's 13. I don't want him getting hurt, but stretching out and doing some decent stuff. We went to the gym, and it was awesome. But he actually saw a video on the lurk alarm and knew all about it before we even got there. So I was pretty impressed that he knew that. And this guy's obviously that make videos trying to set off the alarms, grunting and dropping weights and doing all crazy stuff. So I don't think there's anything short of craziness on the internet these days. With all the AI, I see it in all the groups. You don't know what to believe anymore, which is a funny story I have. When I first got the truck, it's in the parking lot at my marina for the first day. There had been some groundwork getting done, and there was a little bobcat there. Well, Captain Mike sends me a picture of my truck all banged up. I'll tell you where he overdid it, because the initial one that he said he made didn't have enough damage, and then he asked AI to create more damage. But the minute we zoomed in on the picture, we knew that the license plate it wasn't the mangled license plate. AI has an issue with legs, with fingers, with hands, with certain things. Not everything. If you know what you're looking at, it's going to be, it's fake to some degree. I mean, you see the ones with the sharks in the water in Jamaica and all these crazy things. Some are AI, some could be real. So Mike almost got me. I will say that. Captain Mike almost got me. But if he would have sent it over with less damage, I think it would have been more believable. I mean, this thing looked like a goddamn bobcat hit me at like 50 miles an hour in the parking lot. But if he would have given it less damage, I might have been like, oh, shit, look what happened to my truck in the parking lot today while I was out on the boat fishing. So you almost got me, Captain Mike. Almost. Keyword. So AI is playing its role here. AI will be integrated on my site. It is the chatbot is being built so we could talk to people, because people at 2, 3 in the morning, they're sending in the forms, filling out. I want to go fishing. They have questions they could ask. They ask it, and it'll answer it all correctly. Based on the intel that I give it to answer the questions. So that's great. Makes customer service much better for people. In fact, in the ISM business podcast that I did last week at Ohika Castle, that was awesome. One of the companies, I think it was the fence company, had somebody totally believe that the AI person she was dealing with, she thought Samantha was a real human being, and said to the guy that owns the business, owned the franchise, said she was absolutely amazing. Samantha was the greatest, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, yes, Samantha was AI. She's virtual. She wasn't a real person. And that's what's happening these days. It's a lot more now. That's been on sites for years, but it's a much better AI version these days. And we created one at ISM. So Dean, my partner, is working on one right now that's absolutely incredible, and it will be on sandcitycharter.com. And I don't have a problem telling you that, because it's going to help with customer service and answering people's questions that they have about fishing charters. And I love that, because anything to make it smoother and easier is better. And that's what we're looking for, less friction, just like Uber. They're frictionless. That's what they wanted. They wanted a frictionless system of how you can get in a car, not have to take anything out and pay anybody, get in, get out, and everything was frictionless. And they created it. They did. And it's great. So, loving my truck, loving Empire Chevrolet. Love you guys. I give them a shout out in every episode. We did do at ISM at Ohika, we had somebody on that does do cars and sells cars. And Car Joy USA. And he's a concierge. So it's for new cars, you know. So if you're in the market for new cars, they were a full-blown concierge service that helps you with the process of getting exactly what you're looking for. And they'll get you out of your lease. They'll do this, they'll do that. It was pretty cool. But I said to him, I just went through the car buying process, and I got to say, Empire Chevrolet was absolutely fantastic, and I give them a plug here on my podcast with no benefit to me other than I'm driving around in my Silverado Custom, and I absolutely love it. And they're awesome. They were awesome at what they did. So I recommend anybody in the truck market. In fact, Captain of the Kitchen, you were asking me in the parking lot which one's mine because you heard me talking about it on the podcast. And I'll put up the picture of how Mike damaged my truck there so you could see it. But he was asking me which truck was mine because he was like, yeah, all the captains have trucks. I mean, it's incredible. There was not a spot to be had in my marina. Not a spot. Now, I know how to create a spot. I really do. And we were able to create one spot. So I said to Corey, pick me up over here. I'm going to leave my truck over here. Come grab me and we'll put one truck. We can get one truck into this one spot that I know how to create. But it was packed. So that was on the weekend. That was on Sunday. And that was early Sunday morning. But again, you know, this time of the year, the marinas are packing up because they're winterizing everybody's boats. So you lose parking spots. You know, it's happening in Britannia. It happens at, in Huntington, and all the yacht clubs, and everybody takes the boats out. And where they do winter storage, it's a big deal. So it is that time of the year where we're all getting ready. We're already looking forward to next season. I know people were making videos, Tony and Janine, you guys were out making videos saying this is the last time I'm going to see the boat. I'm going to play this video just to remind myself what it's like to be out here. And that's so true because we all love it so much. And we love, I tell people it's a 7-month window here. And people are like, there's no way it's a 7-month window. And I'm like, but we put our boats in April because we get out on the striped bass. April 15th is opening day. We're out targeting them prior to that, looking for them, seeing them. So on opening day, I could take customers out and put them on fish. And we do it every year. And they're here. Every year I say I'm heading west and I'm going west. West is best early, Manny. And I'm passing fish to go west. And I'm like, why am I going? This year I'm going just because I want to travel and do different areas. That's all. That's the reason I'm going. That's the reason I might put the boat on the South Shore to get in on some of this fun striped bass bite that's happening right now. I might. Tony Maja. We're going out in New Jersey. The bass bite's incredible. I mean, these guys are stocking up on bunker. Meanwhile, I haven't seen bunker in my area. I don't even think the bass would know what to do with the bunker. I think there's more spot and croaker in my area than there was bunker. I think if they see the bunker, it's going to be like a invasive foreign species to them. What is that? I remember that used to be here years ago. So we'll get to the bottom of the bunker thing. We will. But I do plan on traveling with the boat a little bit, hitting some different areas, and maybe do some podcasts from the South Shore as well while we're out there. Something cool, something different. You know me. But it's got to be decent weather. If it's 35 degrees, I'm done. If they said it's going to be 35 from now until the end of November, I'm packing the boat up, I'm winterizing, and she gets pulled out and cleaned off and put away. If I can catch some windows where there's still a couple of days that are, I could wear a heated vest and some gloves and a hat and get out there and get on some decent fish. I'm not going to do all of that to go catch dinks and rats. I want to go get on some decent fish. And I'll tell you, every year I would go, even in December, end of November into December on the Laura Lee. And we would get on some decent fish fishing off of the Fire Island, off of Fire Island over there. And there were a ton of birds and a ton of boats, and all the boats are there. And it's one big jamboree of catching striped bass. And I've also gone out on their boat. It's been 15-foot seas going out. So the weather matters. I got a center console, which is why today's charter got rescheduled, because it's a center console. It's time for a bigger boat for Bay Rats and Buoys and Sand City. Bay Rats and Buoys is possible because of Sand City Charter. And told you I'm going to put the nautical school video up. I'll pin it to the YouTube channel. You can get over to sandcitycharter.com. It's right on the homepage. So the minute you land there, there's a big thing to press play to get it. That would take you to this week's podcast. Okay. Speaking of podcasts, shout out to Brooklyn. Bay Rats and Buoys is officially listened to in 5 countries. To me, that's insane. It really is. 5 countries. But I am going to tell you right now, the audio version that's listened to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, you name it, wherever you get your podcast. But on those audio versions, Brooklyn is number 1 as far as a listenership. There's a few that are right there in the top 5. I mean, you do have Huntington. You do have the local area here. And then I got a shout out from, I think it was J Blow? I got to get, I got to make the notes. That's my problem. But Astoria. So you know who you are. And we love your loyal listenership over there in Astoria. But I got to say this. I can't believe that Brooklyn, I once lived in Sheepshead Bay. When I moved out of Manhattan, I moved to Sheepshead Bay. And we'll get into the story of why I lived in Manhattan in the Murray Hill section as a very young entertainer. And I will once tell you that story will come out this winter, I'm sure. I'll give birth to that story. It's a great story. You're going to want to hear it. It's a lot of fun. Maybe I'll do it at the boat show in a fun segment. Maybe I can get some of the people from my past, because I'll be in the city, to come join me. That would be really cool. But you're going to love that story. So I got to give a shout out to Brooklyn, because you are number 1 on the audio listening. Now, that gives us a fun thing we could do here is in the comments, everybody could just blast out, and I'll put it in the, I always put it up on Facebook saying Captain's Weekly Fishing Report, even though it's episode 56 that I'm putting up there, which I did give you guys a legit fishing report of what's going on, how to catch squid, where the bait is, what the bait is, and where the fish are. I gave you everything but lat and longitude. And maybe in the comments, everybody could comment where they're from. Where are you listening to this? Maybe you put that you're listening to it on the way home from work. I listened to it on the train. I listened to it, in the car. I listen to it when I go to sleep. You put me to sleep, you boring mofo. So I love all the comments. So you could write it, whatever. Right where you're from, where you listen to it. But right now, Brooklyn's got the number 1 amount of people listening to it on the audio version on all those platforms, whether it be Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, etc., etc., etc. So, episode 56 coming to a close here with Captain Gage in the studio. Bay Rats and Buoys, the fishing club, is starting in January. We will get that thing ramped up, because when the season starts, we're gonna start our activities. We're gonna be out there. I know you guys are just as hardcore as me because I know some of you. I've met a whole bunch of you. I love the guys that signed up for the tournament. We got some real salty guys that came from all over to be in the tournament, and there's a lot of them in our area. And I love seeing you guys out there this year that we were yelling back and forth on the boats. To me, there's nothing better than that on-water camaraderie that we had. We will create a lot more of that this year. We'll create some off-water activities for us to get together and gather. A lot of good things. So I appreciate every single one of you that listens to this podcast. I really do. I'm very grateful. I really am. And I can't thank you enough. So thank you for tuning in to episode number 56 from the studio. Next week, I will give you a glimpse. I will do this podcast. I'll do episode 57 from the new studio. I can get over there any day and do it. So I'll plan a day. I'll get over there and let you see some of the new stuff that's going on and give you a preview before we actually do the blowout of, the grand opening of what we're doing and what's happening. Super excited about it. November 25th, I am hosting another executive networking event at Oheka Castle. So if you want to come down and have some drinks with the captain at the castle, come hang out with the captain at the castle. I'm either at Oheka Castle or at White Castle. I am definitely a fan of White Castle. I'm in the gym now. I'm eating the egg whites and the turkey, and I'm working out. But I'm telling you right now, we can meet at Oheka Castle or White Castle. You choose. If you want to come to Oheka Castle, it'll be on October 25th, Tuesday night, from 6 to 9. But do me a favor and just reach out to me and communicate if you are coming so I can give you a heads up and what the event really is and what it's about. Dress code, all that fun stuff. And if you're lucky enough, you get a chance to podcast with me at the castle. So if you're a business owner and you're looking to get involved in some executive networking, there's no better way to do it than with me at Oheka Castle for ISM's executive networking event, Tuesday, October 25th. So there you have it, guys. I just invited you to a fun night at the castle. Wishing everybody bent rods, tight lines, and I hope I still get to see you out on the water. I hope you're still in the water. Some of you are on hard right now. You're on the dry, wrapped up. But those of you that are in the water, I hope I see you out on the water. I really do. Captain Gage signing off. Over and out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gage on all our social media channels.